When the world turns its back on you, you turn your back on the world.
Well, that's not what I was taught.
They just do the same to you. Oh, criminals in this town used to believe in things. Honor. Respect. Look at you. What do you believe in, huh? What do you believe in?
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
The way your dad looked at it, this watch was your birthright. You'd be damned if any slope's gonna put the greasy yellow hands on his boy's birthright, so he hid it. In one place he knew he could hide something, his ass.
In this video, I'll be talking about the methods to analyze my selected films. The methods are content analysis and reception study. I will also be using theories. I'll be using auteur theory and psychoanalytic theory. The films I'll be analysing are The Lion King, Pulp Fiction and The Dark Knight. The Lion King is an adventure film about a lion cub, Simba, who is born heir to the animal kingdom throne. Although he is tricked by a treacherous uncle into thinking he killed his own father, Simba flees into exile and despair, only to learn in adulthood of his true identity and responsibilities. Reception study is basically the message of the film. We evaluate the simple message and then look further for a deeper, more meaningful meaning. The dominant message to the audience is simple. The film expresses friendship, love, and hope. The film teaches us that if you walk a path which destiny did not intend, you can still come around, especially with a little help from friends. The juxtaposition between Mufasa and Scar represents two model family figures. In this instance, they portray good and evil. I believe, however, the intended message the film producers wanted to further portray to the audience is that revenge itself is deadly because of the circle of life, the food chain. Later in the film, we are taught by a grown yet still young Simba that age does not dictate loyalty nor maturity. Actions do. This is shown when Simba spares Scar's life, although other species may not have been so fond of mercy. Scar's story is a little like dictator Mussolini's downfall. In the end, his own people turned on him. Trauma is a natural response to a horrible event. The effects can be so severe that it can affect an individual's health and the ability to live a normal life. This affects all ages, although exposure to too much trauma at an early age may cause psychological effects in the future. We see Simba, a lion cub, witness a very traumatic event, his father dying. He blames himself and runs away, therefore affecting his lifestyle as he now has to survive a different way, living on bugs. We see that he is emotionally distraught and depressed. This could be enforced with his eating changes. Symptoms of trauma related to Simba are guilt, shame, self-belief, withdrawing from others, feeling disconnected or numb, or maybe feeling sad or hopeless. This could be linked with depression. When we see this on screen, the audience can really feel his pain, almost transmitting it over, making ourselves feel helpless. Just because we want to help him, but we cannot. We are frustrated at this. As Simba grows, he shows anger and disbelief. But now all this frustration we have built towards Simba has now turned into anger because of his actions. We know of his responsibilities and the weight of the situation at hand. We want Simba to be the hero, but he doesn't want to be. With enough convincing and help from his friends, he changes his mind for the better, changing the path of his course and his final destiny. Auteur theory is about the directors. Roger Allers and Rob Minkoff directed 1994's The Lion King. Roger has been a part of many other animations, such as Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, all of which are Disney films. Roger had said that a few years before he started work on the film, his father had died, so he had a great input when informing the whole thing. He wanted to dedicate the film to, unquote, our fathers. Rob Minkoff, the other director, has also directed Stuart Little 2. This is a live-action film with the use of CGI animation. The new remake of The Lion King is also a live-action movie, despite being practically all CGI. Directed by John Ferreira, who's known for indie and Disney films. John has progressed within the media industry for nearly 2 decades, earning notice as a writer, producer and director. He is also a massive part of the Marvel Universe, being director and also actor in the Iron Man films.
But the king is dead. And if it weren't for you, he'd still be alive. Run away and never return.
Pulp Fiction was written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. It shows black comedy in this indie film, having elements of drama and thriller. It is about crime, specifically the mafia. The storyline is non-linear and follows 2 hitmen, gangster Marcellus Wallace and his wife, Mia, and also boxer Butch Coolidge. Each storyline shows either violence or redemption. Each action by each character influences certain storylines for big or small impact. As the film progresses, the audience gets to piece together the order of the timeline. This film is known for graphic violence and punchy dialogue. The title refers to the pulp magazines and hard-boiled crime novels which were popular during the mid-20th century. The dominant message in this film is portraying the violence and drug problem underlying Los Angeles. At the same time, it's not supporting this. Each character following a life of crime ends up in a worse situation to begin with. The intended message, however, I believe, is about choices and change, doing what's right. All the characters doing wrong suffer for it, but those who change, i.e. Jules and Butch, actually have a happy sort of ending. Jules because he witnessed a miracle, and Butch because of whatever thought or feeling he was thinking at the time. Was he either feeling sorry for Marcellus, or did he see this as an opportunity to make amends with a mafia mobster? As Travolta didn't see the 6 missing shots as a miracle. Instead, he saw it as nothing but a coincidence. Consequently, he carried on working for Marcellus, and is therefore shot by Butch because he forgot his watch. Aggression, in terms of psychology, refers to a range of behaviours that can result in either physical or mental harm to yourself, others, or objects in and around the environment. There are 3 types of aggression. The first is reactive expressive. This means verbal and physical harm. This is shown throughout the film. The second is reactive inexpressive. This means hostility. And the third is proactive relational aggression. This can break human relationships. This is shown in the film when Butch throws Marcellus' boxing match. Aggression is also shown a lot in violent sports like boxing. Frustration can be a main cause to aggression. When something happens that is out of our hands, it tends to be annoying, which leads to aggression. Tarantino tries to do this to the audience by keeping identities or contents to characters and objects unknown, such as Marcellus and the suitcase. This also creates another psychological reaction. We are curious, but sometimes this frustration can also be distinguished before it turns into aggression. The best way to do this is to remain calm and collective, to think through all other possible outcomes and to try and revert the situation to agreement. This is shown when Jules talks Honey Bunny out of shooting him. It is also said that aggression is also genetic. This may be shown between Butch and his father, the watch being symbolic of this. He learns that his father died in war. The speech given to young Butch itself was about aggression and war, but the way Captain Coons portrays the speech is very calm and collective. Almost emotionless, but also sinister. Almost as if he's trying to put this burden on young Butch, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to pass on the aggression, but in the line of duty, you have to. He explains how the watch has been passed down from generation to generation, war to war, man to boy. The time has been passed on. It's his birthright, a lot of responsibility for a young boy. Quentin Tarantino directed this masterpiece, Pulp Fiction. He was born in Knoxville, Tennessee on March 27, 1963. He has written and directed 8 films and written all of them, his 9th one shortly coming out. In January 1992 was his first film, Reservoir Dogs. He was writer and director. The film was critically acclaimed, making him a legend immediately. The film is about 5 strangers who team up to carry out a jewelry heist, which goes horribly wrong. The surviving criminals begin to develop paranoia that one of them is a police informant. 2 years later, he followed up with Pulp Fiction, which also received Best Picture, Best Director and Best Original Screenplay awards. Lead characters usually drive general motor vehicles, particularly the Chevrolet and Cadillac. Briefcases and suitcases also play an important role, for example in films such as Reservoir Dogs, True Romance, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown and Kill Bill Volume 2. He typically makes references to cult movies and television, and typically works with Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Uma Thurman, Michael Bowen, Samuel L. Jackson, Michael Parks, and Christopher Waltz. Tarantino is also known for his westerns, such as Django, The Hateful Eight, and Desperado. His films will often include one long, unbroken take where a character is followed around somewhere, and he also often cameos as a small role. All of his films feature one or more scenes in a restaurant, and finally, revenge is a common theme in his films. The Dark Knight is an action-adventure film about a superhero who fights crime. This film is also a drama thriller. Batman, the Dark Knight, must challenge one of his toughest and greatest psychological and physical tests known in the DC universe. The menace, known as the Joker, shows up in Gotham and wreaks havoc and chaos upon the people. The fandom to the film is massive, Batman being one of the 2 main providers of the DC alongside Superman. The dominant message to the audience is very dark and almost disturbing. Reading up on the film, the message is that in a world without justice, there is no way to fight the system without falling into corruption, apathy, or worse. Going into the meaning of why Batman is called the Dark Knight, many people believe it is because he does not have to follow the rules due to his mask. Harvey Dent is known as the White Knight because he has to follow the rules. Later, he becomes Two-Face. This reinforces his hero-villain speech. When reading into this film further, the message is that Batman is only a hero to inspire heroism in others until that heroism is enough and he is no longer needed until Batman returns. This idea is a motif throughout the trilogy. Linking both of these messages, it is saying that with a symbol of hope there is justice, but without this, it's a free-for-all. It's almost suggesting that Batman's sign has hope within Gotham City. The villain in The Dark Knight, the Joker, shows many signs of schizophrenia. There are 2 different symptom types, positive and negative. Positive symptoms are hallucinations, delusions, and psychomotor disturbances. This can mean different things, such as rocking backwards and forwards, twitching, and repetitive behaviours, or staying in the same position for hours, or even days. Essentially, you cut yourself off from the world. The Joker hears voices in his head and is clearly delusional that he must fight Batman. He constantly repeats battling Batman, like an obsession. He also stays still when he is captured, not moving an inch, staying very calm and collective. The Joker shows clear signs of positive symptoms. Negative symptoms are thought disorders. It is also a lack of motivation. Although the Joker does not show this when it comes to Batman, he does show this in other areas, such as not cleaning his teeth. A small detail, but the audience can clearly see his yellow-stained teeth. Illogical thinking is also a symptom. Some of the Joker's ideas are very bizarre and dangerous. Although the Joker believes he is calm and collective, over time he breaks under pressure, partly due to Batman solving his puzzles, but this is also because it's out of his hands. His frustration then turns to anger. A very emotional or traumatic event can trigger schizophrenia. The Joker's origin story sees him as a failed comedian who is pressured into committing crime to support his pregnant wife. Batman's interference causes him to leap into a chemical vat which disfigures him. Now he sets out for revenge. But does his delusions prevent him from completing this? Yes. Yes, it does. He cannot kill Batman. He believes that it is his role in life to be Batman's nemesis. Christopher Nolan is the director to possibly one of the best Batman films ever made, The Dark Knight. He is often known for his non-linear storytelling and overall acclaimed writer and director.
Or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
During his 15 years of filmmaking, Nolan has gone from low-budget independent films to working on some of the biggest blockbusters ever made. Here are a few of his trademarks. When beginning his movies, he introduces his main character with a close-up of their hands performing an action. They are typically flashbacks or a scene from the middle or ending of the film. In The Dark Knight, he cross-cuts several scenes of a parallel action to build to a climax. His films typically revolve around characters with some kind of psychological disorder. As well as this, the storyline is in most of his films usually involve a determined character seeking vengeance over the death of a loved one. Nolan frequently casts Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Tom Hardy and Cillian Murphy. Thanks for watching this far. I hope you learned something new today. Thanks for watching once again. Goodbye.
Brought him down to our level. It wasn't hard. See, madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push. Oh.